Today I'm going to dive deeper into the 18-year-old male called Nicholas Prosper from Leebank, Luton, who on Friday the 13th of September 2024 at around 5:30am shot and killed 3 of his family members who are still yet to be formally identified, but believed to be Mum Juliana Prosper, 48, brother Carl Prosper, 16, and sister Giselle Prosper, 13. He posted a video on his Facebook stating that he had killed them due to a decision his sister made on June the 30th, 2024, in a game called The Walking Dead Telltale series. He also states in the video that he recalls a video made by the Living Echoes channel titled Best of Lee and Clementine, The Walking Dead Definitive Series, where they made the same choices that I'm about to talk about. Lee is the main character who looks after a young girl called Clementine. In the game, you had a choice to kill characters Larry and the St. John brothers in front of Clementine, but in doing so it would traumatize the girl, and he was apparently angry that people were making these choices and even referred to himself as the chosen one to stop people from hurting Clementine again.
I am the chosen one, chosen by Clementine. I am guided, as Christians are guided by Jesus Christ, and there will be no more killings of Larrys in front of Clementine, no more killings of St. John's in front of Clementine, and overall Clementine's content will be preserved, maximised. That's the message I want to give out.
Upon further research of online accounts, I'm not so sure this is the only reason why the incident took place. He was arrested on Birmingham Road, not far from the property where the murders took place, and was found to be in possession of a kitchen knife. Since then, he has appeared at Luton Crown Court on September 16, 2024 in person, where his dad Ray Prosper has been reported to have shouted, "I still love you, son, it's not your fault, okay?" And then he wept as Nicholas was being led out of the docks. He then appeared by video link from prison on September the 18th, 2024, and was charged with murder. He was also charged with a number of other offences, including purchasing or acquiring a shotgun without a certificate, possession of a shotgun, and possession of a kitchen knife in a public place. He's scheduled to appear for a plea and trial preparation hearing at the same court on the 5th of December, and a provisional 3-week trial was set for 3rd of March next year. After doing more digging, I found lots of his online accounts, which I will go through today, and a bit more in-depth on all of his YouTube videos. Most are slowly getting removed, but I've been able to find a lot of information, including some extremely disturbing comments he has made on some horrific videos that are on the Watch People Die site, which I'll cover later. It all seems to paint a potential darker side of his online presence. Thankfully, I was able to get this without seeing any of the videos, but the titles alone are some of the worst things I've seen, let alone his comments on them. First, let's start with the YouTube videos, which I've had more time to transcribe and make sense of. I won't go over the first video too much because this was just a manga cartoon with Japanese music over the top of it. I've tried my best to censor everything I could in the transcripts, but please bear with me as there was a lot to go through, so I may have missed some. The first video where he started to speak seems to have been sparked by his WPD account ban, which is a gore site where he made 3 accounts which have all eventually been banned. I'll put the comment and transcript here, but I'll get more into the WPD accounts in more detail later in the video.
This video is in reply to the 10th man on Watch People Die. The context of this is that I've been banned for pedo, which basically means I'm banning you because I don't like you, I guess, considering I've broken no rule and no one is willing to explain how I've broken any rule. I've tried to reason with these people. What I've done is I've made a slew of messages combating misinformation and comments based on empirical findings and comments made purely for academic purposes in spreading knowledge and understanding on this topic.
In this video, he can't seem to grasp the concept that he's been banned from a gore site for breaking a rule which he argues with the moderators that he doesn't seem to think he's broken. The next video was streamlining PED discourse. This is the video in which he tries to compare teaching a sport to a child as the same as introducing them to inappropriate actions with adults. As you can see here in the transcript, he gets quite a bit heated and blames feminists and the fact it always comes down to harm when judging these acts. Later I found this is related to what is spoken about in the Jay Lillen video named Debating the Devil, which I'll talk about a bit later.
Introducing a sport to a child and playing said sport with a child is fine. Introducing sex to a child and having sex with said child is grooming, manipulation, predatory, abusive, morally wrong, and the child here is non-consenting. Why? How are the two activities different? Because sex is inherently harmful to children.
The next one is so long that Nicholas himself didn't want to read it out, so he uploaded a video saying,
I am not reading this entire script, so it's going to be in the description below. Thank you.
I also won't read the entire script, but I will put it here, but you'll probably need to pause, as it's almost 10,000 words long. I'll touch on a bit that stuck out to me, which was once I read closer to the end. I saw he stated that he started writing this paper on his main GA in early June, following the attempt on Donald Trump's life. It then reads September 7th, everything I've done and said from August 2022 to May 2024 is deeply regretted. I've only become somewhat knowledgeable until recently, so truthfully 75% of what I've said before May is going to be extremely vacuous, especially in regards to antinatalism and religion. I've made numerous errors on CSA also. Currently I wish I was more literate regarding certain subjects, I guess considering how this pseudo-intellectual vapid nonsense has already been forced onto me by the foundational mistake of grossly misplacing Nicholas Prosper into the real-life human universe. To me it is unclear if this essay even makes sense. This essay comes from an irk I feel, or some need to satisfy the revolting need to feel superior this body feels knowing the truth. In actual truth, this is irrelevant in the motor, or the spectator life, adjacent to the real-life human universe where we can know the aftermaths of the inconsequential happening, where Clementine can't be shot by bandits, and we laugh and glance at this earth and giggle because it's inconsequential. Elements of the real-life human universe are retained as evidence in the language she gave to me. I will find you. How do you find in the afterlife, or the life I will return to, if it does not function similarly to this universe? I've beaten the real-life human stage. If Clementine or some divine being disguised as Clementine wasn't leading me through this vocation, I would have failed a long time ago. The topics he talks about in the transcript and the fact that he mentions the Donald Trump assassination attempt is what made me really start to think there was something more behind this tragic incident. Then there is the 2024 UK riots, where he gives his opinion and talks about a response he applies directly to Keir Starmer and officials, and how he thinks the riots benefit Prime Minister Keir Starmer. He also talks about immigration and how all this is routine dishonesty.
Presenting my quick thoughts on the 2024 UK riots plus the response, I apply directly to Keir Starmer and officials. I am not postulating off MSM in social media. I find that's highly irresponsible. Whilst I do condemn the violence and blatant discrimination occurring on the streets, their mere presence does not subtract from the validity of the problematic premises from which the upset arose. Given the very clear magnitude of the self-preservation and anti-mass immigration sentiments, which is the biggest public showing regarding the issue since the 2016 Brexit referendum, it is obvious the rioting has been a great detriment. It's just this ingenuity and dishonesty. Yeah, you have to play around it. Hope not hate. Stop fascism, we're the good guys, they're the bad guys.
Next is the Jay Lillen video. In this video, he responds to a video made by YouTuber Jay Lillen called Debating the Devil, who made a video about a professor called Stephen Kirshner, and it was based on a podcast from Brain in a Vat where he discusses an extremely controversial subject of what is consent in the eyes of a child, and the lack of on the opposing side to actually support claims that having inappropriate relations with people underage should not be seen as a crime. He was also arguing that how can you say this was any less consensual than them saying no to wanting to go to school or a swimming lesson or a judo lesson. I was absolutely disgusted and shocked, but this is where it seems most of Nicholas's arguments come from, because they sound almost identical to what the professor is saying. That long transcript he spent months on that I spoke about earlier also seems to talk a lot about this and the Rhine studies.
Response to Jay Lillen Debating the Devil. This video is in response to the critique you raised concerning the 1998 Rhine meta-analysis, but to sum up this entire field of CSA research, when non-biased sampling is utilized and the data is quantitatively reviewed, only then can you accurately assess CSA adjustment relations. My sources will be linked in the description below. I will have a script to the video in the description below also. Apologies for being difficult to understand at times. Sometimes my speech becomes slurred when I read. The whole point of the study was to test the basic claims concerning CSA, including all CSA typically produces intense long-lasting harm. The fact such harm wasn't observed in less serious experiences directly disputes this belief. The authors then proceeded to examine just how intense is the harm produced by CSA through the meta-analytical approach.
This video was about 12 or so minutes long, so I've only just put some snippets here. The next video is titled Arguments Against Any Prophilia. In this video, he starts off by saying,
I just want to blurt this out before I have to focus on connecting.
Which I thought was interesting as this was uploaded 3 weeks before the incident took place. In this video, he talks about what happens to you when you die is acceptable based on culture and where you grew up, and that it should be acceptable for parents to choose whatever they wish to happen to their children once they've passed away. He shouts a lot in this video and eerily sings the part at the end. Due to the nature of some of the things he discusses in this video, I cannot post all of it, so I'll only be putting snippets.
Because the body is a sacred object. That's unfalsifiable. We revolted against it. An appeal to nature is disgusting appeal to disgust. You can catch sickness from it. So can you from unprotected sex. And every other activity where risk is involved. It's consensual. At what risk percentage is a person's consent overridden and the action is no longer permissible? Also, what if the body is clean or fresh? They're dead. You can't validate their consent. Yet if someone consents to being cremated after death, you still cremate them. Half of these arguments can be used against cremation. I refer to a non-cultural standpoint and harm and wrongfulness which is intrinsic to the act itself. Because it's for sexual gratification. Okay, and I really can't think of any arguments against it, so I'm making a video. Take me to the mall.
The next one is titled, You Don't Follow Epistemic Bounded Rationality. This one is told in a storyteller's way about someone who lives alone and is given inappropriate underage tapes, but just keeps them to himself and never shares them, but one day is caught. He then states that the man has done nothing wrong and he was given them and was only keeping them for his own gain and not promoting them, but society would still give him the harshest punishment.
Let's say there's a neophilia who lives alone. He likes infants, babies, and one day a magical wizard appears and creates, out of thin air, hundreds of physical tapes. And over the next 5 years he watches only those tapes. He doesn't share them with anyone. He enjoys only those tapes until one day he is found out by law enforcement and put on trial. I'll ask you this. What punishment should the man receive such that it correlates with harm caused by his viewing of the tapes? Most of you couldn't even point to the harm in this instance, but you still probably called for harsh punishments. Why? Knowing this, would you still sit in the court's public gallery gleefully watching as the man is sentenced to 10 years? What if there was proof of the magical wizard's doing? They'd sentence him still.
The next video is called Kingdom Level Above Human, and this is the last video that Nicholas uploaded to his YouTube account before the incident took place. In this video, I did say in my first review of it on my first video about Nicholas that I felt he was looking at some sort of afterlife type fantasy or belief. And after reading more into his videos, it seems he does talk a lot about a different afterlife involving people being transported to a UFO, which he states in this video. He then states that if you're afraid of dying, you can try the afterlife.
A couple of weeks ago, I was researching Heaven's Gate, and they have something known as the Kingdom Level Above Human. And obviously I was wondering, how is this afterlife any different than the one promised by Islam or Christianity? And how are those afterlives any more valid than the ones I contrive?
Who's to say mine isn't more valid than theirs? Who's to say that? Who is?
So, that's all his YouTube videos out of the way. Let's move on to his alleged Instagram account, which has now been suspended. This had multiple drawings that he had made, where you take a closer look. They look quite violent looking, of sexual nature or just plain weird. There is one in particular that was quite similar to the drawing he used on most of his YouTube videos, which leads me to believe that he drew that also. Some have pointed out that they think the drawing looks similar to Clementine. I've seen some comments where they say that he would have been a great lolicon artist, which is showing cartoon young female characters in an erotic manner. I also noticed an interesting thing about his Instagram drawings is that he seemed to sign them with different names. This is his alleged Pinterest account. It has the same type of name and profile picture as some of his other accounts that I've found, and it only has one folder created a week before the incident that's called Clementine, and has 137 pins of Clementine and Lee. When I looked at who this account followed, however, I came across folders of children on almost all of the accounts, which were made to be cute and harmless, but from one of the accounts I saw, it had a picture of a young girl and had a rather odd comment on it asking who the young girl was because she was so cute, and then the same pin of the same girl with the comment asking, please, who is she? So none of this looked really good to me, considering what he discusses in his YouTube videos and the comments that I've seen his WPD accounts make. Then there's his alleged Twitter account, or X account, which has now been suspended. The profile pic is the same drawing as the YouTube videos. The background pic is from a book that talks about age-structured practices and talks about, is this correct or should we take desires into account, and talks about the young person's desires and whether coercion or manipulation shouldn't be used in these contexts, and about Western discourse and the cross-cultural comparison between Western and Sambia practices. Most of the accounts he followed have now been suspended or deleted, which leads you to believe that they have been posting inappropriate things also. Nicholas's Twitter was set to private, so you could not view his posts unless he accepted your follow request. One of the now suspended accounts, I was able to see a post which was a repost from another account, which upon further inspection seemed to have a lot of hate content aimed towards people from the LGBTQIA+ community. Another account posted some tweets to Nicholas that sounded quite off also. Then there's his alleged Reddit account, which is suspended, which after doing a search for his posts and comments, I came across a post that was asking a messed up question that it seems caught his attention, and he commented on it. Again, they are inappropriate comments on similar topic of other things he seems to have talked about on most of his other accounts. I couldn't find any posts that he made on Reddit, so it's unclear if the suspension was due to him being arrested like with his YouTube and social media accounts, or if the suspension was for his comments. So this is where we come to the worst accounts I have found that he has made on the Watch People Die site that is allegedly his, and he states this in one of his YouTube videos because he was so upset that he was banned from this site and made 3 accounts to try to bypass the ban, and also tried to argue with moderators to show him the rule he had broken. But from posts on this site about him, the moderators were able to trace his accounts through the emails he'd signed up with and banned all 3. The first account, that was his original account that got banned around 4 months ago, was called Exquisite Tastes and had the same picture used as the profile picture on his YouTube. This was created on January the 12th, 2024. The comment he made to get banned from this site I thought was bad, but after seeing comments he made from this account on some of the disturbing videos, I'm surprised he wasn't banned before, as it looks like a lot of people disliked his comments and he was getting a lot of haters. So the most recent comments are to do with the ban and trying to get people to have a serious debate with him, and a very lengthy post to a user called Anna, where he says that he thinks they want to kill the vast majority of the male population, and then he goes on to argue different studies in which one he discusses Johnson and Franklin had subjects evolve a beautiful female face over iterated generations on a computer program designed to simulate natural selection. In the end, the most attractive versions of females' faces had proportions typical of girls between 11 to 14 years old. He then goes on to talk about studies that seem to support the idea of adults being sexually attracted to minors being normalized, and a majority in some cases. Then you see a comment on a post about Jeffrey Dahmer to the same user, Anna, where it looks to be more studies trying to normalize the topics. Then you see another comment on this post where he references Richard Ramirez and seems to defend their actions and stating it was just for control purposes and looks to be the comment that started to spark him being banned for his final comment. Then his other comments are about the same arguments on different videos of that topic where people are against them and posting videos of offenders, such as people getting caught and getting beaten up, and he seems to keep defending them in the comments. Then you eventually see a really odd comment he posted on Took Too Much profile, which is allegedly the WPD account of Dylan Butler from the recent Iowa shootings at Perry High School. The comment says, "You wouldn't hurt a lemming with a Tootsie Roll, you kind, gentle, fun-loving piece of S." There is also another he wrote just saying, "one kill." Then another saying, "Why are people getting angry with him murdering people when they're on a gore site?" He didn't seem to grasp that people on the site weren't happy that there were killers on there. The comments on Took Too Much's wall were the first he ever made, and when you look at when the shootings happened on the 4th of January 2024 and when he created this account 8 days later, it makes me suspect he created the account because he found out that Dylan Butler had an account here, possibly the same way I found out that Nicholas had accounts here. The email used for the first account was Adam Lamzar, and for his second account he used the email Dylan Lamzar, and his final account was an email called Nick Prasad. Then there are another few comments from the same videos he commented on earlier, again arguing that he didn't see anything wrong with some of the assumed actions in the video, and puts other quotes, which state voluntary consent between children and adults are different than other cases, and state that there are no adverse effects from his, and also trying to argue against what constitutes as R. A lot of his comments on these types of videos seem to be similar. Then there are some racist comments and comments about feminists, which he mentions a lot in his comments and seems to dislike feminists. Then he starts making inappropriate comments on videos of people who have taken their own life. Then the comments spread over several different videos and all seem to be trying to provoke a reaction. Also you see him reference other serial killers like Adam Lamzar, which was the name he used in one of his email accounts, Jeffrey Dahmer, Dylan Butler, Richard Ramirez, Isaiah Sagwa, which he comments then became a celebrity, which makes you think he idolized serial killers and mass shooters, which kind of makes you think he planned this before what he stated in the video that made him do it. In a lot of cases you find the killer has a want for this type of fame, like the Don't F With Cats killer Luke Magnotta. Then there are further inappropriate comments on other videos. I won't comment too much as there are so many that are really similar in context, but none of his comments sound of someone who is of right mind. And you can see the comments are all really nasty, but you can tell they're the same kind of person. There was a comment that stood out to me though, where he said he was experimenting with paraphilias to figure out what he was into. There's another comment that stuck out to me that made me realise he had other things that he was into, and the comment was about being disappointed that there is an innocent sub on the site that is just for pets, no gore, and the video he clicked made him assume it was either killing or more inappropriate actions towards the animal. In a lot of his comments, you can see he speaks very intellectually. There are other instances where he comments, "But what if the child deserved it?" on videos where people are beating or hitting children. And then there is disturbing comments about hurting one's genitalia and how that is something they are into. The videos he was up or down voting were mostly gore or information on mass shooters and serial killers, including the Sandy Hook shooting and the Night Stalker crime scene photographs. Then there is a second account named Handmade K, with a profile picture of the cartoon cat you see on the WPD site. He made this on the 8th of May, which looks like they banned pretty much straight away, possibly because of the email he was using was similar, because there is no activity on this account. And then he creates the final account, which he actually names Nicholas Prosper. He puts on this account his real face as the profile picture, which is a selfie that I haven't found anywhere else online. The strange thing I found about this account was that he only seemed to be voting on art and music videos, which I thought was strange, as his other account only seemed to vote on gore or controversial videos. But one that stood out to me was a song by Everclear called Father of Mine. When I read the lyrics, it seems to be all about a boy who's upset about his father leaving him, which according to a comment I found on Reddit, someone claimed to know the brother of Nicholas and said that the father was no longer in the picture. On this account, I found a couple of really extreme comments that I found really hard to read. The comments on this account are bad, but you can tell he's trying to refrain from talking about the topics that got him banned in the first place. I think this account only ended up getting banned because they found out it was his because his name was in the news and the picture. There is also a comment that states this account downvoted someone who put up a meme under the post which was named "Tried to meet a 14-year-old boy." The meme apparently is used on this site for suspected adults talking about minors in an inappropriate way. Also, it seems he was upvoting his own posts from his banned account. This also could have potentially led them to believe this was his account. So that about sums up everything that I've found since the last video. If anything in this video has affected you, please remember to seek help and remember it's okay to not be okay. I know this will be a lot to take in, as it has been for myself, but I do think it's important that we educate ourselves on what is possible to our kids online. My heart goes out to the family and friends, and I really hope they can heal during this difficult time. Please remember to be kind and don't spread any hate in the comments. And also, if you liked the video, I would really appreciate if you would like and subscribe. Thank you for watching and take care of yourselves.